Meantime, the U.S. and China expected to sign off on that phase one of the trade deal a little later today. Last hour, we spoke to Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin about what is next.
Just as in this deal, there were certain rollbacks. In phase two, there will be additional rollbacks. So it's really just a question of, and we've said before, phase two may be 2A, 2B, 2C. We'll see. First step is really focusing on enforcement. But this gives China a big incentive to get back to the table and agree to the additional issues that are still unresolved.
Okay, for more, I want to bring in our guest, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. It's good to see you. We just had the secretary on, and then we had a raucous debate afterwards with Steve Bannon and Kyle Bass about whether this phase one deal goes far enough. Where do you land?
Well, I think it's a great start. Think for one moment. We're better off than we were 4 years ago by having this agreement. But if you're going to judge this agreement, judge it on this, on the powers that you gave these negotiators. If we had the United States, Mexico, and Canada agreement, who are our number one and number two traders, Canada and Mexico, already ratified, our negotiators would actually have a stronger position in negotiating with China. But our speaker, Nancy Pelosi, has held that all that time during negotiation. So it's quite remarkable that we got what we got. And it's the first start. A lot of this hinges on what does China want to do in the player of the world. For the first time, we have an administration that has pushed back the increasing growth of China around the world and really hinged on the idea of a trade that's going to be fair. So to me, it is a very good first start. We are stronger for it, and the economy is going to be stronger. And
Leader, you have advocated, though, the need to fix this intellectual property issue, perhaps
very much
as
so.
as a singular issue, perhaps more than anything else. And so the question is, have we gained or actually lost leverage on the issue that matters to you?
I think we gained on it because for the first time, China is actually acknowledging, look, China can sign a new law. It does not mean that China is going to abide by it. This is something that we have to get every single nation together because China has not only just harmed America, they have harmed the world with everything they have stolen. They have continued to do this throughout the decades.
And so why are you convinced that we're going to be able to hold them accountable?
I'm not convinced that it's going to be perfect 100%, but it is a change in where we were 4 years ago. It is a change than having the president of China come to Washington with President Obama and him just promising something would happen. They are now signing the dotted line. They are now making a public saying that they are going to do something different, that they sign an agreement for it. And we also have a president in the White House that actually has held China accountable greater than anyone else has done before. And many people on the show, and such as myself and others, were pretty leery of the idea of raising these tariffs and others. But you know what we have proven? That he would stand up to them. And that's the only reason they came to the table.
Leader,
so from that standpoint, we are stronger today than we were before.
Leader, wanted to also get your thoughts on another topic we've talked a lot about this morning, which is the tweets from the White House aimed at Apple and Tim Cook, who was at least over the past year or two, seemed to thread a needle in terms of his relationship with the president, but now seems to be in the crosshairs of the president about this phone and whether Apple should give or provide some kind of backdoor access to that phone. Where do you stand?
Well, I don't think a technology company should ever give government a backdoor access to anybody's phone throughout there. I do believe in the idea of privacy. I also have a concern, and this is not a black and white issue here. If a terrorist has done something inside America, we need to work together. I watched a FISA court, but I watched a FISA court use it against their own American citizens, so I see that there has to be reform for it to even sustain itself. And I think this is a delicate situation. I believe in privacy. We need to protect privacy. We don't want a wallway. That's why we're battling against China, looking into everybody's phone. But you have a known terrorist down there that actually killed Americans. I think there's a way and a mechanism, and this is where Congress should actually get engaged in. What is the protections that you can keep on privacy? A company wants to be able to provide that. I want them to keep that. But in an instance of a terrorist from a foreign nation killing an American citizen and our individuals, we would want to have all the data we can, and I think we can make that happen.
Leader,
that's a little more nuanced than the argument we've heard so far from the Attorney General and then the tweet from President Trump last night. Is there some space between you and them on that? Are there negotiations taking place between Congress and the House right now, or Congress and White House right now?
I think what will happen here, it's more going to be with the company itself and with the Attorney General. I think in the instance, we watched this in San Bernardino, where we had the same instance where people are sitting working together, and lo and behold, they found a way to get inside, and the company did not provide that. From an American point of view, you want to make sure that government is not looking at everything that you're doing. But from the same instance, if you have a terrorist, you want to be able to get in there.
Clearly, William Barr wants to set a legal precedent on the record so that not only can he get access to this particular phone, but I imagine get access to phones in the future that could represent or present an opportunity or he believes would represent a threat to our own national security. So the question is whether you want that precedent to be set.
Now, that's your statement. That's not William Barr saying it. So I would first, before I'd answer something like that, I would see what actually William Barr is actually saying in the process, because I know William Barr wants to protect Americans' privacy, but at the same time, he wants to protect Americans to make sure a terrorist does not have information that they're going to go somewhere further, and he has the ability to do it.
Let me flip it around for you,
okay.
Which is to say, how would you feel, or what should we do if, in fact, the Chinese government were to call up Tim Cook or Apple and say, we need you to unlock this other phone because we believe that it represents a national security threat to China?
Well, I think I answered at the very beginning. I do not want a backdoor for government to look into everybody's phone. Now, this is a different case than what you just referred to there. We have an individual who is from a foreign country who came to America, who killed American servicemen and women. So from that point of view, it is a different situation because there was an action taken. Were there any more plannings to kill more American citizens? Where did this come from? Now you're sitting inside a case and an incident. I think in those situations, and maybe government has to get involved here from a Congress point of view, of being able to protect an American citizen. But from this point of view, these are foreign nationals that came and actually killed Americans. I think there's a place that this is different than some government just looking at the phone. Is there data in there that we can find to protect more Americans? And that's the nuance of what we have to work together to find those answers.
Leader, can you give us your thinking on some of the comments, as joke, Colonel, on some of the comments you made about Biden, not campaigning during the impeachment trial so that everything was fair for Senator Sanders and the other senators? And you even, I think you're still stinging from what happened to Bernie last time. And I just think it's very gratifying to see you commiserate so much with Senator Sanders. But I think there might be some ulterior motives. What do you
No,
Oh, come on.
But let's put it in perspective. 4 years ago, the eve before the Democrat National Convention where they're going to nominate, the chairperson of the party resigned, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And why'd she resign? Because information came out that they had cheated Bernie Sanders from getting the nomination. And what they had done, they have what is called a superdelegate, where that's the Democrats' insurance policy to let the establishment decide who can be the nominee. Because of what took place 4 years ago, they actually changed their rules. There's no superdelegate on the first round. By Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, holding these articles of impeachment, when she said it was so important to move so quickly, we're sitting where we have February 3rd, the Iowa caucuses. Biden is not doing well there. And whoever comes in first through three normally becomes the nominee for the Democrats going forward. And now, as a senator, when you're sitting, four of them running for the president of the nomination, they have to sit 6 days a week with no phone and anything else and sit in their desk and say nothing. There is a great advantage to those who are not sitting in the Senate. So why did Nancy Pelosi, one of the reasons why she held this, to help predetermine going exactly back to what they did before, which no one said they would ever do. They cheated Bernie Sanders for becoming the nominee. Those who support Bernie Sanders understand this greatly. They see it time and time again. And it's one more time that the Democrats are doing it again to Bernie Sanders.
You are fired up about...
Well, it's openly cheating the individual, which would you say the basis of the individual.
If someone started from the other party...
What is wrong with believing in fairness? What is wrong with that?
If someone from the other party started, commenting on the way Republicans were running things, you would hate that. And you'd say, why do you care? It's not your party.
No.
I know, huh?
It's all about fairness. If there is something the Republican Party was doing to deny somebody a voice, I would be the first to stand up for it.
You are laughing. You can't even keep a straight face saying this.
It is true, and you know it.
Okay, all right. You're feeling the burn. That's nice.
Yeah.
It's some show of bipartisanship. It's very, very,
Exactly.
it's very admirable, leader. Thank you.
Thank you.